Welcome to the introduction to Agile Goal-setting by OKRs from OKR Asia and Asia PMO as part of the modules of the OKR Champion program. We would like to give you today a free introduction about what are OKRs, how to build them, and how you could use them in your organization, and even if your organization is ready for OKRs. Before we start, we look at common examples in your real life where you probably see already objectives and key results. So you can see it in some movies, you can see it in sport example or in advertisement. So if we look, for example, at the movie in the middle, which is Saving Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan is actually an objective. So the first part of OKRs is objective. So the objective of the story of this movie is to save Private Ryan. And in this case, we already have a pretty inspiring objectives. Yeah. Now, what are the key results to save Private Ryan? One of the key results is to bring him home. One of the key results is to find him in the first place or find him alive. So these are key results we can measure if we really achieve them. And because this is an action movie, I don't have to explain to you what are the actions in this movie. But there's always an inspiring objective, Saving Private Ryan, a key one or multiple key results, ideally multiple key results, like bring him home to his mother, and a lot of actions of running and jumping around, which is our do in companies. Yeah. If we make another example here with Liverpool football example, Liverpool has the objective to be a champions club. What does that mean? They want to be champions for themselves, winning a lot of trophies, for their investors, for their fans, for the countries, for the city, and so on. Yeah. So what are the key results they have to achieve? Measurable key results can be that they have to win a certain number of games to be champion, national champion. They have to win certain kind of semifinals and finals to win the Champion League, or in a certain time period, win the Champion League every 5 years or once in a decade. And to be the champions on the people and the fan side, they need a certain number, measurable number of fan base, of fan clubs, of t-shirts sold, and so on. So these are all measurable key results. Yeah. And everything Liverpool is doing, hiring people, hiring manager, training every day, traveling around, building a stadium, these are more actions. These are not key results. Yeah. And one more example here is from advertising. Maggi, a 2-minute noodle soup, which is yummy. So the objective is more like an inspiring yummy soup, because mommy, I'm hungry, it says, right? And then what can we measure? Of course, the soup has to be ready in 2 minutes. The kid has to like the soup. That's like a satisfaction rating, and so on. Yeah, the smell, the taste, maybe it's also measurable. And everything we do to cook the soup are the actions. Okay, so you can play that with other examples we have here, but the first thing you really have to distinguish is between objectives, which is the inspiring part, key results, which is the measurable part, and actions, which is the daily doing, which sometimes gives you key results, sometimes don't give you key result, and don't help the objective if the actions go in a wrong direction. Okay, so that's the first structure. Now, why do we recommend OKRs in companies? So OKRs help a lot with feedback and bottom-up communication, because OKRs should be aligned in the company. So even the management comes up with objectives. Maybe the team will write the key results or the actions, right? So all is aligned, and normally it's discussed in a workshop character, and you have feedback opportunities. OKRs is very much focused on results, opposite to action or project management, which is focused on getting things finished. Yeah. OKRs also measures action or projects as a baseline if we finish things, but then very, very focuses on what results do we achieve with this action. So for example, if you work in marketing and you do a lot of ads, yeah, we of course want to know how many ads you did, but that's not the decisive part. The decisive part, what impact did these ads have for our sales or for our followers? So we want to measure the outcome results in OKRs, not only that somebody ticks off his daily doing. Yeah? We want to make people accountable for these results, not only for the tasks they are doing. And if people perform very well, and that's a little bit in the agile methodology, we want to give people more autonomy because we measure people week by week or every 2 weeks, and we measure teams week by week and every 2 weeks how they perform against the OKRs. And if they perform well, we can give them more autonomies in their actions, in their daily doing. Yeah. And what is also very important about OKRs, it's not only bottom-up and feedback culture that people can challenge and ask a lot of questions and should be aligned. The goals should also be public. So we highly recommend an Excel or an OKR tool where we have a lot of examples in the OKR Champion module, where people can centrally see how everybody in the company, how every team in the company performs against the OKRs. So we break the silos here. And because OKRs should also be built cross-functional, so we don't want to build automatically departmental OKRs. They don't have to be marketing, sales, operation OKRs. We highly recommend to build projectized and cross-functional OKRs where people work together and align. This is also something we show you in detail in the next modules in OKR Champ, how to build cross-functional OKRs and how to get really powerful alignment between teams with good results and measurable results. And OKR is an agile methodology. So we set up and measure objectives and key results, ideally for 3 months, for a quarter. But it means also in this speed and with a weekly or bi-weekly tracking, failure can happen. But the good thing is because we track regularly how we perform against result. So in the marketing example, we know very fast if the ads we are doing on a daily or weekly basis have impact or not. And then we can analyze why not, and we can correct the failure which happens. Yeah? This is also according a little bit to Agile, Scrum, and Sprint, where we try things, where we reiterate until we have the best results. That's why OKRs is an Agile goal-setting methodology. Now here an example on OKRs, very simple example. If my objective is to bake a cake, and this is already not a very good objective, and that's a part of the coaching we can give you later. Normally I should put a purpose here. So bake an Oreo cake, let's say for a birthday party. Yeah, this is an objective. Yeah, everybody likes cake, so it's also a little bit inspiring. Yeah, after we have an objective, we should add 2 to 5 key results. The objectives come from the direction we want to go or about the target we have. So it's a little bit of breakdown from maybe a yearly objective and from a strategy. Yeah, that we break it down in a smaller, achievable 3 months objective. And when we achieve this objective, we can plan then the next 3 months. Now, bake an Oreo cake for a birthday party. The first key result, what we call internal key result, is that you have to finish the work on a certain timing. So have an Oreo cake before the party starts at 6 p.m. Yeah? And then the second key result we normally build, or even more, is an external outcome key result where you do something for somebody, ideally for customers or for other teams. Yeah, here we can measure that the friends will be so happy and surprised. Happiness is measurable, like customer experience, or we can also measure that the cake is finished. So people like the cake because everybody eats the cake, right? So don't measure only your work, also measure the outcome of the work. And the outcome of the work, you know, when you ask not only what is the desired outcome, you should also ask, why do you have the objective? And why do we have a cake? Because we want to make our friends happy, yeah, on the party, not because we want to finish a cake by ourselves. Yeah, so internal work can be measured as a key result, but also external outcome and impact. The third part of OKR is the action or projects from which we measure the key results and where we get the daily doing out of the key results. Yeah. But very important, actions are not key results. So actions like buying the ingredients, baking or decorating are not key results which give us a cake. These are only partial actions we need to achieve the results. So we not really measure the action like in a project or action management tool, and you already have that probably in your organization. What we want to know that doing all that, ingredients, baking, decorate, we want to measure the result. Is the cake good? Does the cake make people happy? That's the main focus on OKRs, not the steps anymore, like in traditional project and action management. Now here a more example out of the business world. Normally we say objectives should be qualitative, but of course when it's about sales or about finance, we can also put numbers into objectives. So here, increase profit by 10%. How can we measurably achieve that? We can raise the sale by 10,000 items in a quarter. We can reduce the costs monthly. We can reduce 5,000 customers by a quarter. So there are different dimensions to how to increase profit and how to measure these dimensions. And in order to do that, we can, of course, do a lot of action. If I want to increase sales, maybe I have to hire more sales staff. I have to run cost reviews. I post 3 ads to win customers and so on. And very important, hiring is not so much a key result because we want to know what happened or what does it help the organization when you hire these people. That's the real key result. So for us, hiring, running ads, posting are more actions. Now, when we think about implementing OKRs, yeah, we have to think first about the culture we need. If you look at this comic here, that's not really the culture how to implement OKRs. If you have a similar culture in your organization, maybe you first have to do a cultural transformation before you do OKRs. Yeah, so not every organization is automatically ready for OKRs. What we know from the 40, 50 implementations we did with our clients is we need a certain flexibility to adapt because we want to set up objectives and key results only on a 3-month basis. So maybe after the first quarter, we realize we set up the wrong thing. So we have to adapt for the second quarter and not only pursue a strict 1-year KPI method like in other companies. So we adapt more to the markets, to the customer needs, to internal needs, and so on. Yeah, you need an open feedback culture. People are allowed to challenge and ask why we have certain objectives, why we have key results. Yeah, you will also be more in workshops rather than in small meetings or in one-to-one settings to build OKRs. So we highly advise that we do team workshops to build OKRs together. So we need a feedback culture. we need bottom-up communication channels. Maybe you have already employee surveys or chat system, anything which makes the communication less silo and less top-down. And if people perform well against their OKRs, you should have a culture of that you trust your teams and that you get the teams more autonomy. Yeah, this is more in the agile direction. So we don't say you need to have it all, but partly you should go into this direction of a culture in order to implement OKRs. Now, what are the steps to implement OKRs? The first thing we do is the OKR setup, right? I mean, before we measure and track objective and key results, we have to set up the OKRs. You are here in the training. One step before in a lot of companies which engage us is that we give them an OKR training like you have now, and that they understand OKRs. But whenever people understand OKRs, the next step is to set up objectives and key results in workshops. So there could be a leadership workshop, there could be departmental workshops, there could be project workshops to set up good, inspiring objective and measurable key results. Once we have this OKRs set up, ideally in the last week before the quarter or in the first week of the new quarter, we start with regular OKR reviews. Yeah. So we can have monthly OKR reviews on a higher level, and we can also have weekly, bi-weekly result tracking on team and project level. Yeah. It's important that OKRs are regularly updated and discussed, ideally together in the teams or in the projects. Yeah, and then if you have a weekly result tracking in your team or in your project, you can send everybody a weekly update, or people can see the weekly update inside the OKR tool. At the end of the quarter, we would review how many % have we achieved against the OKR of the quarter, and in the same session, or maybe 1 week later, that's up to you, set up the OKRs for the next quarter. Yeah. So we review the OKRs from this quarter and set up immediately the OKRs for the next quarter. Yeah. Ideally within 1 week, so we are ready for the next quarter. And remember, why do we do that? Because the objective and key result of, for example, Q2 are determined on your achievements from Q1. Yeah. So if you don't achieve everything you had on your plan or on your OKR development for Q1, then we have to adapt, of course, to Q2, because some we have to bring over, some we have to put more resources in, and so on. So you cannot, in an OKR methodology, you are not planning 1 year ahead like in KPIs, because you always have to wait what are the results from the previous quarter to plan the next quarter. Now, we had over 40, 50 OKR clients where we implemented OKRs. Yeah, and here are some names below from our previous clients. And what are the main lessons learned we draw out of this implementation? I mean, ideally, you start always on a higher level with OKRs. We can implement OKRs for one team as a test, but if you really want to fully implement OKRs, you would start on company level. Everything should be communicated openly. So the objectives, the data sharing, how to measure key results should be shareable in your company. If you have any restrictions, then it's difficult with OKRs. When you set up key results, so when we say in the previous example with the cake that our friends are happy and that they like the cake, yeah, but how to measure that? So people have very fast ideas what to measure. but we should be very, very detailed in explaining how to measure. So with your friends, you can say the cake is finished at the end of the party. That means they are happy or they like the cake. Or you can do it in a customer experience survey with a 1 to 5 rating or 1 to 3 rating. But you have to explain that. Right? So at the beginning of the quarter, when you set up the KR, please explain everybody how you measure the KR in order to avoid misunderstandings, and also maybe define the data source if you have a data source where the KRs are coming from. 3 out of 5. We normally advise 3 to 5 objectives on each level because OKRs should create focus and alignment. And with more than 5, it's very difficult to focus. Now, when we have 5, for example, company objective, we see a lot in our clients, they achieve 3 of them fully and 2 of them maybe in 50, 60%. So this is something which you can remember when you are very ambitious in the first quarter. Please also set up objectives where you stretch the team a little bit and be aware that maybe not everything will be achieved. Remember, failure happens, things can happen during the quarter. Now, we have the structure objective, key results, and actions. Objective and key results are the plan for the next 3 months and how you want to measure this plan. Actions is the daily doing. So if you don't achieve your OKRs during the quarter, the first thing you should change are the actions. Don't change the key results to make it immediately easier for you, right? Change the actions and try different actions. Challenge your team and ask for input to do things differently to achieve the key results. Very important. The main part of OKRs is not to set up the most perfect OKRs. So please only use 1 or 2 weeks within the quarter to set up OKRs. Yeah. But the main part of OKRs is to review and track them regularly in your teams or in your projects, ideally weekly or bi-weekly. Because then we know what is the progress, and then we have what we have like in Agile stand-up meetings, very similar, that we know why things are progressing, why not, and how we as a team can help that we can, or sometimes we even can deprioritize together if we see that maybe during the quarter it doesn't work at all, but we can make a decision about it. So you need to track the OKRs and your results regularly. A question which always comes is OKRs, KPIs. Yeah, there's a big difference. I mean, KPIs are numbers. They are not very inspiring. They are not so aligned. They are more silos. But OKRs and KPIs are possible at the same time. So the moment you switch to OKRs, you don't have to kill your KPIs. And we will show you in later modules how you can integrate KPIs in OKRs. That was the introduction from us. We offer 4 modules in OKR Champion e-learning. You did the introduction. Now you could do a module where you are prepared as an OKR professional to use OKRs in your company, to be a user of OKRs. If you want to lead and facilitate OKRs, you should think about the OKR Champion module. Yeah. If you want to lead, facilitate, and make a project with us together, then you can also go for the OKR Champion Pro certification, which includes a project. OKR Champion is the facilitation certification. As OKR Asia, we are also offering OKR implementation and OKR consulting. And here you see some of the offerings: setup, implementation. We can review your existing OKRs. We can help you to find an OKR tool, give you coaching, and also live train your OKR champions, not only as an e-learning. To have this cadence here: strategy workshop, OKR workshop, weekly review, and end workshop at the end of the quarter in your company implemented. Thank you very much for listening to this introduction. We are OKR Champ by Asia PMO OKR Asia. Here is our contact details to also reach out to us if you would like our help on implementation.